every single week of the season. You think that we got everything out we wanted to on Saturday, but this just in. We never tire of talking about Georgia football, and we have more thoughts against the absolute drum beating that Georgia gave Clemson. Next, Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, I am Daniel. He is Clint. Thanks for being 5-Hour Energy, 5hourenergy.com. More on them in a moment. Thanks for being an everydayer.
Come on.
Thanks for being a loyal third segment listener, for sticking through all the way to the end. It's the season, so there's a lot more of you. If you're new thing that we call the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, welcome. We've been here for a minute. Audio app of choice you go to. We're over there. You can subscribe, follow us on that. Leave us a rating or we would love to interact with you either way. Let us know in the comments. Send us an email, lockedonbulldogs@gmail.com, @Dawgs Podcast on Twitter, whatever you want to do. Clint mentioned we never get tired of talking about Georgia.
No.
Things that we know. And so if it's lagging, if it's whatever, like, I already know that. Here's something else I know. I know that because I watched us beat the absolute fool out of them on Saturday. And I know it's left in the chat. Are there Clemson fans left on?
No. Daniel, I went back and I went back. There's no Clemson
You followed
fans.
up.
I followed up. I said, hey, I'm here. You told me you'd be here after the game. You told me that Dabo is still the future, is the past, is the present, is the future, and no one's here. Clemson fan is long gone, so it's all Dog fans, and there's no Tennessee fan anywhere in here.
Dog fans. And so this is a time when we reacted on Saturday. Chances are you've seen that already. We apologize for nothing.
No.
And I thought we handled it fine. I don't think there was any problem with what we did.
We were great.
But now we've watched the game again. We've got more thoughts. These are some more of our measured thoughts, what we really think. And I'm going to let you start, Clint, but I'm going to set you up. I'm not going to give you the choice of where you go. I'm going to ask you, since it's just us Dog fans here now, I'm going to ask you to speak to the Never Bobo crowd that is here among us. Please speak with them as a father speaks to a son.
Let me draw you in, son. First of all, you're not a bad person. This is just bad behavior. Okay? You're not wrong. What you're doing is just not wise. And here's what I'm going to tell you is not wise. And I want better for you. I made my mistake. I thought at one point Jimmy C had a secret playbook he was holding back. I had a tinfoil hat. I thought Jimmy C had a secret playbook that he didn't want the rest of the SEC to know. And I was an idiot. And I was a moron. And I was, if I can be, projecting insecurity based upon a bad offensive coordinator into existence. You're projecting your own stuff when you say Mike Bobo is vanilla, he's bad, and he's holding us back. Every metric in which you measure offensive success by, I mean, not just my perspective or opinion, but literally the things
your opinion doesn't even factor.
No.
How about the fact that the best offensive coordinator 2 years ago scored 3 points against the Clemson Tigers?
How about that?
On a neutral site.
How about that?
And Mike Bobo just hung 34 on the scores in there. How many pick sixes did we get on Saturday? How many punt return touchdowns did we get on Saturday? How many really short fields did we get on Saturday? No, I didn't see any of it. 34 points against a team that will finish as a top 10 defense. It's ridiculous, guys. Just hang it up already. You said the same thing about Stetson Bennett. And then what did he do? He won the national championship. And then you got on here in my comment, the defense, Stetson Bennett will never carry us to another national championship. And then what did he do? You wouldn't shut up about it then. Now you're in my comments telling me that Mike Bobo will never win a national championship at Georgia. Well, guess what? Mike Bobo is going to win a national championship at Georgia. And when he does, you'll get on here and say Mike Bobo was carried to the national championship by somebody else, and we won it in spite of him. You are who you are. I couldn't disagree with Clint more. You are bad people. You're bad people. That's just the cold hard.
Legitimately, explosive plays, expected production, percentage of success. Mike Bobo has record-setting numbers on all of that. Carson Beck had the second most passing yards ever by a UGA quarterback last year.
And guess it's about to be the third most ever by a quarterback because he's going to break his own record this year.
But 3rd and 16, we ran up the middle. Okay, yeah,
that was to get out of that so that we could. That's just
stop.
Please stop.
You're showing your ignorance. So hop on, or guess what? Stop talking. Your choice. Get out of my comments with this Bobo. Right. We're gonna come back.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows. We have some things to say. We have some interesting observations. We have some negative interesting things. We're gonna get to all of it right after these.
But first, 5 Hour Energy. Guess what? Daniel and I love 5 Hour Energy. We use them. We know the great flavors they have and how much of a pick-me-up it actually gives us. If it's after lunch because you're a little sleepy and you want to get something going, if you have a big to-do list because it's the weekend and you got to get everything done before that kickoff hits at noon, right before that game, and it goes all the way through the night because Arizona going to play and a wide receiver is going to get over 300 yards, and you want to be up for the entire thing. Or maybe because you need to go work out and you need a little pick-me-up for that. 5 Hour Energy is fantastic for that. We love them. You should love them as well. Guess what it has? It has zero sugar, a convenient portable size. It's perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore: watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you can even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com and get some 5 Hour Energy specifically for you. You can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, and one order cannot be used with any of the promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
All right, let's start here, Clint, because there's some obvious faces Georgia has in the game. Obviously, people talking about Frazier, the freshman running back, people about Carson Beck. Malachi Starks makes probably the play of the season on defense. A lot of unsung heroes, though, too. We mentioned at the end of the overreaction show, Cash Jones. How about Cash? How about the game that Cash Jones had?
Daniel.
It doesn't matter if you like him or not. It doesn't matter if you want him to play or not. Cash Jones is good at football, and he helps Georgia win, he ended a Clemson defender's life. We can celebrate on this podcast. So kudos to Cash Jones. I want to talk about a transfer wide receiver.
Okay.
That Kirby had some interesting things to say about in the press conference after the game. Colby Young, a guy that you are famously very excited, told us Colby Young was going to be the red zone threat for the University of Georgia this season. He was the guy, he was targeted, scored a touchdown. Carson Beck put it just over his head, a little bit high on the throw, which I wish Mike Bobo had told Carson Beck to throw it lower instead of telling him to throw it over his head. But Mike Bobo, terrible offensive coordinator, as we know. And so he was targeted both times Georgia the ball into the end zone. That is significant to me. That's something I took note of. Mm-hmm. maybe just once. It feels like it was maybe more than once in the game. I saw times in the middle of the field, in between what I'm going to call in between the 20s. And Colby Young, he had a drop that maybe would have converted a first down. Kirby's asked about Colby Young specifically in his red zone threat, and he says, a good football player, we need to get more out of him. We need him to give us more because he's too player not to. We need Colby Young to be Colby Young between the 20s because we know what we're going to get out of him in the red zone. We know that he's a big body wide receiver, long arms, good hands, can make plays, and he's going to catch touchdown passes. Thankfully, Dylan Bell seems like just cramping up is long term. The injury situation at wide receiver seems like it's non-existent. We have a lot. We know that. We like what we in Smith. We like what we have in Dylan Bell. We like what we have in Dom Lovett. We like what we have in London Humphreys. We like a lot of guys. But Colby Young offers something that none of those guys offer. He is a different body type. He is a different type of weapon at the wide receiver position. And places not the red zone for Georgia to be the most potent version of its offense. I thought it was interesting. The comments need to see more out of Colby Young.
It was really, really wild to me as well because he is now looked upon not just a red zone threat, but also if you can do that possession skill, because we saw Arian Smith come on, and Arian Smith is going to go ahead and get open. He's that route runner, that deep threat as well, that physical threat down the field, not the physical threat in between the hashes. And if you're looking at what we saw out of the tight end, Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky has that dog in him, but Ben Yurosek was not up to SE speed yet, Daniel, in this game. Got bullied and pushed around a little bit in this game. Okay, I'm not mad at him. Just so what Kirby is saying is
the jury's still out there. We'll see.
That's right. But what Kirby's saying is,
by the way, but also saving plays for the tight ends. The tight ends aren't as good at catching passes this year as the wide receivers are. And so they're not as good at getting open as the wide receivers are. And so not going to throw to them as much because it's as good at creating mismatches and getting open as the wide receivers. So
yeah, we do need to see more out of Colby as well as London Humphreys. I think those two transfer guys were perfect pieces to place within the Dylan Bell, the Arian Smith. The wide receivers need to catch on. The tight ends need to come up because Carson Beck was throwing lasers, was throwing dimes, and they need to come down with them and catch them. And all of a sudden, those numbers and those metrics get a lot better. We're going to come back after this, tell you the last thing that we saw from the game, maybe the last two things we saw from the game that need to improve or maybe just notes on. But first, this. And this is, in fact, Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Hey, Locked On Bulldogs fans, I want to take a moment and give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to really love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is an amazing game. Simulate the steps that you need to do to get your team to Dynasty. You get to be Kirby Smart for a hot minute and get into the action. Can you imagine actually being Kirby Smart and having these players at your disposal? From recruiting players, hiring coach, and overseeing training camps, it's really a lot to love in this game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy, it not only determine the success, but also shape the future legacy program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, 100% playable offline. And of course, we have a special promo code for our Locked On Bulldogs fans. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Take advantage of this perk, and it'll give you the team off to a hot start. Download the game. Just visit ultimate-cfb.com, ultimatecfb.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today.
All right. Hey, where do you want to take the people next?
I just want to two things. I want to talk about defensive line. I want to talk about DBs really quick. And I want to do this by a couple of snap counts. Ingram Dawkins had the most snap counts by any single defensive lineman. Stackhouse next, Kristen Miller after that. Those are the three dogs. After that, there's a big drop off. we thought this defensive line is going to have depth, and we know that there's a couple of injuries. We know that some guys are getting healthy, but if you look at the snap counts, there are 3, and then there's everybody else after that, Daniel. Just really quick, I'm a little nervous with the injuries, the way that people went down early on in the season. There's 3 and then a massive drop-off, and Jordan Thomas is the next one after that with Jarrett after that. And then Brinson had just the 3 snaps because, the aforementioned injury. Daniel, am I crazy? We played admirably. We played great defensive
play. We like the D-line.
Yes.
It's concerning. The injuries, some of these guys should be back. It's like Warren Brinson should be back. It seems like he's going to be through, what he suffered. That's going to be huge. We should get McLeod back as well. I would love to think that McLeod is on his way back as well. McLeod really needs in order to provide depth, because Georgia's not going to survive this schedule with 3 interior defensive linemen taking that many snaps. Nope. You cannot have Christian Miller, Ingram Dawkins, and Nas taking that many snaps and expect to hold up in the fourth quarter against Alabama's run game in Tuscaloosa in the fourth quarter. You think you're going to hold up against that O-line and that run game? Georgia's got Tennessee Tech this week, on Kentucky, and then a bye. I'm not saying on the road at Kentucky is a walkover, right? That's a game you have to take serious. Tennessee Tech this week, and there's a bye built in for Georgia to get healthy at these spots to the meat of the schedule. But Georgia needs to get healthy at these spots, get to the meat of the schedule, or Georgia's going to have some real problems.
Last thing I want to touch on, and I want your thoughts on this as well. I saw, and you're going to hate me, and the longtime listeners are going to hate me, because I'm going to talk about a name that I have long since had a problem with, and it reminded me why I had a problem with this name. Xavier Truss is not my right tackle. I know Clemson has a good defensive line. I know they got their front 7 is the best front 7 that we will face until Tennessee. I understand that. However,
do you though?
I do. Freeling is our right tackle. He came in the game. He had the most snap counts of anybody not a starter. And Freeling showed out and balled out, and his grade was I think the 3rd best on offense for the entire game. And that includes the likes of Frazier and Colby, all the rest of them. 3rd best graded out performance as a right tackle coming in for Xavier Truss. And he came in first. The first substitution was for him because Kirby and Bobo saw the same exact thing I was seeing, which was Xavier Truss getting his face pushed in on the line and collapsing the pocket. Freeling came in out. Now, to his credit, Truss came back and performed very well after that. Okay.
Yep.
I need Freeling as my right tackle, Daniel.
Listen, I'm not mad about it. The fact that Freeling came in before Michael Morris should tell you a lot as a Georgia fan.
Wild.
Like we knew that, because we believed that this was a 6-man rotation going into this year, that all 6 guys were going to play, that Georgia had 6 offensive linemen.
Yep.
And we expected Mike rotating in, him and Dylan Fairchild. You love both of those guys. Like, it's
great.
We got 3 guards essentially that we love. Now, I don't, but that's maybe another conversation for another show. The fact that Monroe Freeling came in that early and played, it tells you that it's not just you, Clint, that noticed in the first half, but it was noticeable in the first half. Now, I think to everyone's defense, and this is to Xavier Truss's defense and to Tate Ratledge's defense and to Branson Robinson's defense, at least from a public perspective, Kirby Smart came out and said, listen, we thought we would be able to run the ball. We would be able to have success running the ball right at them. We thought the strength of our interior offensive line was such that we were going to be able to move the ball running it right at them. That's apparently why, listeners, Kirby Smart and the staff decided that they were going to run the power run game to start the football game because they thought it would work. And credit to Clemson's defensive line, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And so they made adjustments like a good coach does. So Branson looked bad.
He did.
Xavier Truss looked bad.
They did.
But I think early in the game, it was the game plan of the coaching staff that didn't set Georgia up for success in those moments. I'm certainly not ready to write off Xavier Truss. I'm certainly not ready to write off Branson Robinson, even though they both probably did not have a game that they are going to be excited to show the film of in the future. But I think both those guys are going to help Georgia this season, and I think both those guys are going to be important pieces moving forward.
I agree with everything you just said, and I love Freeling is there. Branson Robinson is going to be just fine. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. Well, guys, guess what? We'll be back tomorrow because
we got more about this. I got a defensive bet that didn't even play that I think might be one of the most important players on Georgia's defense. How about that for tomorrow?
Come back tomorrow, y'all. We'll see you guys then.